Welcome back to the Mentor Show, which offers quick lessons packaged within minisodes for busy founders and startup leaders like you. I'm Adil, and I'm being mentored live and unscripted by Ed, who's built, sold, turned around, and scaled startups all the way to the New York Stock Exchange. He's based in the US, a developed economy, and I'm based in Dubai, a hub within an emerging economy. And we compare notes. This is real talk, no scripts, no theory. Let's get into it. You've always been in the trenches, shipping product, closing deals, jumping into customer support at midnight. Now your investors want to bring in a COO and focus on vision and fundraising. You feel like you've been losing touch and that job should have been yours. And you've been there before everyone else. So you know the ins and outs. How does this person evolve in such a role? Do they stay? Do they support the COO? Their internal sense of entitlement goes against them. So maybe we could look at it from both perspectives. The leader who feels stuck and is entitled and feel like they lost an opportunity or been treated unfairly versus the COO who just joined.
Otto, let me answer this question by establishing some guidelines in terms of how I think about the question and the answer I'm about to give. So, the guideline is again, we're assuming a company that has been funded through outside sources. Again, the minute you accept money from an investor, you've created in the entity, your company, an independent organism, the company itself, funded by external sources that expect a certain return in a certain period of time. And it has to be a compelling, impactful return because of the risk associated with it. So, whether you're a founder CEO or you're one of the co founders, maybe in marketing, maybe in sales, it doesn't matter really what the role is. And then all of a sudden, an outsider gets brought in, like a COO. Not unusual, especially if the company is growing quickly. People have to find a way to let go of any entitlement attitude. You're really not obligated anything by the business. The business has to make decisions around picking the best fit, the best set of skills, the best track record of having demonstrably provided results for whatever the particular role is. It may be that you're the right person. That's absolutely possible as a co founder, and you get elevated to a different set of responsibilities. It may also be that you don't have the experience set and the depth of knowledge for the pace in which the business is growing. And again, hopefully, we're talking about growing businesses here. So, in that context, I would say any founder, regardless of the position they hold, has to develop the ability to step back and ask the question, do I have the right skills for where the business is today? Do I have the prior knowledge and insight to help the business be successful? And if not, if the person coming in from the outside has those skills, has those abilities, has that experience, why would you not support that individual? Because if they are successful, guess what goes up in value? Your stock, right? Guess what else goes up in value? Your personal experience, because you're going to learn from this person. I find that ego kills a lot of really good businesses. CEOs don't step away, CFOs aren't very competent, salespeople aren't very successful, engineering executives can't deliver product on time. And there's a whole list of examples like that. So when you join a startup, when you join a scale up, when you join any organization, bring your best game to the party and realize that there are other people out there that might be better than you if you're not learning fast enough, if you're not growing as an individual. And that's not a negative thing. If you're still willing to learn and you're still curious, maybe you get the COO role or whatever the title is at the next company or later on in your career with the company you're with.
This also brings us to another question, which is hiring executives too early. I've seen situations where the CEO wants to grow very quickly, so they hire people who are very successful in corporate jobs, more mature companies. And then when they come on board, they realize that, you know what, this person is expecting certain resources and they're not able to deliver without those resources, be it budget, be it team, be it certain tools, tech tools, stuff like that. So, how do you deal with such a situation? How do you prevent it, number one? And how do you deal with such a situation, even if I made a mistake as a CEO and hired that person?
Well, let me say that this is a very classic problem. And my approach to this question would be the following. If you're going to hire an executive, and let's use your example of VP of sales or chief revenue officer, whichever title you want to use, be very specific in the job description of what you expect out of this person from a qualification standpoint, because that's all you really have at the beginning of the hire process is what are your qualifications? Have you been there? Have you done it? Can you take a company from 1 million in revenue to 10 million in revenue? Be very specific. That's number one. Number two, if you're hiring from the outside and you're looking to a larger organization for this person to come into a startup, be very clear with yourself, with the board, with your other executives that this is going to be a big change for that individual. And it's going to be a big change for you as a company and as a team. Because not only are you hiring someone that came from a more successful, larger organization, you're also bringing in a culture that they're accustomed to, more structure, more independence, maybe even more accountability than you'd normally have in the stage in which your company is at today. So be very clear about expectations. Be very clear about the need for cultural fit. As you get into the interviewing process, I would strongly suggest that every executive that has to work with the new hire executive must be part of the interview process. Not should be, not might be, must be part of the interview process. Everyone should drop what they're doing and make time to interview this person. I will tell you that in many companies, it almost doesn't matter the size. People have terrible interview skills. They ask easy questions, right? Not hard questions. If you're the VP of technology and you're interviewing for this VP of sales role, one of the questions you might have for this person is, tell me about the last VP of technology you worked with. Was it a good relationship or a sour relationship? Why was it good? Why was it bad? What support do you need from technology to be able to deliver on the revenue target that you have for the company? You need to get very pointed in these conversations because really at the end of the day, I don't need to go have dinner with you or invite you to my backyard barbecue. I need you to hit your target number. That's the most pointed perspective I have. Of course, I would like to get along with the person and like them. That's an added bonus, but I need them to be successful. Otherwise, I won't be successful and the business won't be successful. If you're the head of marketing and you know that a new VP of sales is coming in, same process. Tell me about what you need from lead gen. Tell me about what you need from brand building to help you close revenue. So the interview process has to be very thorough, not just on task execution, but also on cultural fit. Hey, you're coming from a large company, IBM, into a startup. What concerns do you have about that? And let them free form. The last question I always encourage executives to use towards an interviewee is give me 3 good reasons why I should hire you, right? And give me 3 good reasons why we are not a good fit for you. Really challenge people to think outside the normal interview process that in my mind is actually really terrible. It's more feel good questions as opposed to uncomfortable questions. Right? That's how I would look to hire an outside executive from a larger company into a smaller company, not to guarantee, but to make sure that there's a fit. And then I would be very serious, deadly serious, that in the next 90 to 180 days, look for any signs of ill fit. Because the longer you keep that person there that's not working out, the more rot you're allowing to happen in the apple barrel, right? And so when something doesn't happen right, you've hired the wrong way. As the CEO, you should, since the end decision was yours, you should say, look, you went through an extensive set of peer level interviews, everybody's behind you. Here's what's not working, right? You're not working well with marketing. You're not communicating effectively with engineering. There's a frustration around the fact that you can't articulate your strategy. Whatever the reason is, confront it day one when it happens, because it's not going to get better with age.
That's it for this Minisode. Big thanks to Ed and to all of you for tuning in. If this sparked something, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and make sure you share it within your network. Got a question for Ed? Drop it within the comments. See you next time.
Please note, the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any affiliated organization. The content provided is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. We encourage listeners to conduct their own research and consult with relevant professionals before making any business or career decisions.